She's vibrant. She's extremely talented. She's an award-winning radio personality, entertainer, journalist, and soon-to-be author. She is Jazzie Belle, and she's primed for a fantastic 2021 with her hit media platforms, Inside Hollywood, Women in Hip Hop podcast, and her upcoming book, 48 Bars of Power. Welcome, Jazzie Belle.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. It's absolutely a privilege. Hey, you have already done so much, and as we said at the top, you're primed for a big 2021. What are you looking forward to this year?
I'm looking forward to work, as I quote my good sis Rihanna. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, I know it's been a toll on all of us. But my motto in life is create, don't wait. So with everything that's been going on, I've really been trying to push through the pandemic, and so far so good. So I'm looking forward to the same thing in 2021.
Yeah, the pandemic. We've had a lot of entertainers on over the past year, and folks are suffering. How are you able to navigate that?
Keeping the faith and staying consistent and staying, firm in my belief of create, don't wait, and that this too shall pass. So I take those mottos in life and I really do live by them. So, with everything that's going on, I try to look at adversity and say, you know what, let's go toe to toe, pandemic. I got you. Like, you're not going to get the best of me. I'm going to get the best of you. So that's how I approach it.
Yeah. And we've seen you obviously with so many, whether it's your podcast, whether you're interviewing them on red carpet, wherever, right? Yeah. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, you've been with Wendy Williams, that is. What were some of the challenges as a Black woman being able to get in that space?
Just being respected, there's a lot of misogyny and sexism that exists in hip hop, and being a woman that looks a particular way that I do, I try to stand in my truth and be as authentic as I can. And that can rub people the wrong way, especially as a Black woman, just being strong and being, opinionated, being assertive. It's when you're a boss, in other terms, they call you the other B word, when you want to boss up and just do naturally what comes to you. And that's just work. I'm just here to work. I'm here to live out my purpose and live out my dream. And I can't do that being timid. No one can. You can't, Stacey, So as a Black woman, I feel like, especially in hip hop, they expect us to be that way, or they want us to be that way. And I'm not conforming to that mentality or ideology at all. So that's one of the biggest struggles that I face as a Black woman in media. But, having a great support system, having people that believe in you, you believing in yourself, me believing in myself, plays a huge part in how I overcome it.
And to stand for a moment with the hip hop theme, has the culture changed at all? I mean, we know, as you've laid out, what it's been like, but have you seen any changes, especially with the Me Too movement and all of the different things that have happened? Have you seen a change for the better when it comes to the culture?
I've seen a shift. A lot more can happen. I think because of the Me Too movement, a lot of it was first geared towards Hollywood, white Hollywood. Even though a Black woman, Tarana Burke, shout out to her, curated this whole movement, it didn't really gain traction until Harvey Weinstein came out as being a predator. He didn't come out, but got exposed as being a predator. And, it took a lot of the white women in Hollywood to speak out against him for it to get the attention that it deserved. But hip hop, it has a long way to go when it comes to that, because it's so male dominated and because it's predominantly Black, I feel. So it's just like with the surviving R. Kelly, when people say, these women cries wasn't heard because they were predominantly Black and brown women. And I feel the same as it pertains to hip hop. So yes, we've come a long way. I feel like there's, somewhat of a magnifying glass of what's happening, but it can be, a lot stronger and a lot more, because there's a lot of women that's suffering behind the scenes, dealing with being, it's to the extreme as far as you get sexually assaulted, women behind the scenes get raped, and they feel as if they have nowhere to turn just for, safety, even amongst women, because we're so in this zone where we just trying to survive, or we're trying to take care of ourselves without taking care of each other. And that's what's missing, I feel, in hip hop, is that camaraderie amongst women, and that just camaraderie amongst people. When you see something that's being done wrong, it's okay to speak up and speak against it. But in hip hop, it's just so different because it's the streets. So you're dealing with a lot of ramifications that you probably wouldn't deal with in other industries. So it's a bit harder.
Yeah, and you mentioned Rihanna at the top, and we know years ago that situation with Chris Brown. We all, you're talking about Me Too, and as it pertains to hip hop and hip hop artists. But isn't it time, Jazzie? Do you believe it's time to have a real conversation among the men and the women in hip hop? A real let's bare our souls conversation.
Yeah, I feel like there's a huge disconnect between the men and the women in hip hop. I think it's just, it has a lot to do with people being afraid to speak up because we're taught as people that it can only be one. I mean, you could look at it even with the women in hip hop. There's always one woman that can reign at a time, which is sad, because that's not the case in any other genre. You look at rock and roll, you look at any other genre, these people have longevity and they can coexist. But when it comes to, hip hop, it's just unfortunately, like, we're not as in control, as much in power as it may seem, because it started with us. So people think that we are the shot callers when we're really not the one calling the shots behind the scenes. And, unfortunately, they use that against us. They say, don't speak up, don't say anything, just be cool, just take care of yourself, make sure you're getting a check. And unfortunately, that's just something that's being perpetuated throughout the culture. And it's something that's really sad. But I do see a shift. I do hope that, Black women and Black men in particular come together and see that we're in this together versus, being apart.
Yeah. And you've had some experience with Wendy Williams, as I mentioned at the top. Now, recently there was a documentary that she was behind on Lifetime. First of all, did you see it? I take it you saw it, but what was that like? Because I'm guessing you know her a little better than others.
I've interviewed her a few times. I was very privy of that, and the experience was amazing. But, just to piggyback on what we were talking about, interviewing her, she was very inspiring and uplifting for me to interview, because I talked to her about some of the stuff that I dealt with behind the scenes, just being a woman, being a Black woman, and trying to be a Black woman in power. And you see throughout her 30-year career, she has sustained a name within this industry. And what a lot of people don't know, because she's such a daytime diva now, but in the beginning of her career, as you saw, I hope you saw the biopic, she was a radio jockey. She was a hip hop girl working at hip hop stations, Hot 97, etc. So she endured a lot of the things that, I told her that I'm enduring now. And she gave me a lot of words of wisdom, and I appreciated her for that. So that was 30 years ago that she, revealed to me in an interview that she dealt with a lot. And as we saw in the biopic, dealing with a lot, her being, date raped and just going out and not being respected, or just having to deal with, et cetera, in her industry. And so, that was 30 years ago. Fast forward, here we are today, and women are still dealing with that. But, just to get off of the soapbox, I really do appreciate Wendy. She was amazing. And that was such an amazing experience, because she is someone that I look up to in this media realm.
Yeah. One of the challenges, Jazzie Belle, that has been identified by many in the music industry is that too many young artists in the music business don't understand the business of music. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. But it's designed that way, unfortunately. I just feel that that's the industry wants you to be ignorant at a certain point. Like, they don't want you to know, where your money is going, and they don't want you to know that don't spend your investment, that's really not your money, Right. To have financial literacy in that sense. So I feel, but it's always been that way. But I do see a shift in that as well. I think a lot of people are starting to understand that this is something that's been long-standing within the culture. But just like there's a disconnect, I feel, between Black men and Black women in hip hop, I also feel like there's a disconnect between the older Black men and the younger Black men in hip hop. I think there's not enough love in between there for someone to pull a young brother to the side and say, hey, I did this, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. As I quote Jay-Z, I did that, so you don't hopefully have to go through that. And that's very true. I just think a lot of the older men should do that, so that way the young brothers won't go through what they went through, back in their day. As hopefully the younger generation, as right now, can pay it forward. They can pay it forward.
Yeah. Well taken. 48 bars of power. Let's talk about that.
I do have the book here. The book is not out yet, but okay. This is my book that I love to go through, and I edit, all the time. It's like 80% done, I tell people. But yes, 48 bars of power is coming soon, and it gives 48 of my favorite bars from my favorite female rappers that inspired me growing up when I struggled with self-esteem issues, self-confidence, love and relationships, and faith and spirituality. So it's broken up in 3 parts. And that's the book.
So our viewers can see the cover again.
Yes, there she is. All her glory, all her kinky hair, her big nose, and full lips. I wanted to focus on the face for my cover, because I envision a young Black girl seeing it and being proud and feeling seen and loved, and because that was something that I felt like I struggled with as a young girl. So, to see someone that looked like them on a cover of a book talking about self-esteem issues and how I pushed through it, I just hope that resonates with a young Black girl and it's inspiring to her.
And some of those 48 bars, tell us about who is in the book, a little bit anyway, a couple of people that you want to highlight.
Oh, of course, Little Kim is in the book. She's my favorite rapper of all time. Foxy Brown, love her. Queen Latifah, Eve. Oh my God, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B. Oh my God, it's so many. Yo-Yo, MC Light, they're all in here. But the great thing about this book is I use those women as my big sisters. That's how I looked at them growing up. I grew up in a very male-dominated household. I did have 2 older sisters, but they was much older than me. But I grew up with a very strict father and 7 brothers. So, and I was like in the pool of those boys. And I've always struggled with trying to find my voice and fighting to be heard. And I look to these women as an example of how to do it, dominating a field that's so male-dominated and winning. Just really winning, and I just really look to these girls as inspiration. So with that being said, taking those lyrics, I also give a personal experience on how these lyrics helped me through. So when it comes to self-esteem issues, when Remy Ma says, I'm conceited, I got a reason, can't nobody do it like you do. You're miraculous, phenomenal, and can nobody stop you. Songs like that, I still listen to this day, every morning, just to build my self-esteem. And I give a story in the book as to how I struggle with that, and a song like that helped me through. And the same thing with love and relationships, dealing with domestic violence issues is stuff that I talk about in the book that I personally saw growing up and that I dealt with myself. So when I hear a song like Love is Blind, and looking at that video from the rapper Eve, that's now a talk show host, I believe herself. Yeah. Her song helped me through as well. And listening to Lauryn Hill saying, don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem. Listening to her helped me realize, I am worthy of more in life than dealing with something like a bad relationship. So stuff like that is in the book. So it's a montage of mantras to live by and a bunch of experiences of mine for you to know that you are not alone, and that, sis, I've been through it too.
It's interesting. You mentioned Lauryn Hill, who put out one of the greatest albums ever. Miss right? Interesting. Recently, Lauryn Hill said that Columbia Rough House never asked her to do a follow-up. How do you process that?
I don't know. I was talking to a girl recently, and she equated Lauryn Hill as being an ex-boyfriend that treated you so well and just disappeared for the rest of your life. I don't know.
That's how I feel about miseducation.
Lauryn Hill is like the original ghoster. You know, she do you well, she love on you so good, give you all the goodies, and then just bounce on you. It's like, what happened? She never called me back. This was a hit it and quit it moment. What is going on? And and that's how, you know, I kind of view it too. But you know, what she did leave us was so amazing. And it's something that's going to be embedded in our culture forever. It's going to go down in history as one of the best albums. And she should go down in history as one of the best rappers to ever do it. She should be in a lot of people's top 5, as we call it in this culture, top 5 dead or alive. Lauryn Hill should be one of them. But yeah, for them never to ask her to do, I guess they said, hey, we got a classic out of her. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know. I know she was rumored to be late a lot. Maybe they were just like, we lucky we got through this classic album. Maybe we don't have to do it again. I don't know, but I would love to.
We can't give them that. You know why? Because Stevie Wonder was always notoriously late. Michael Jackson was notoriously late. You know, after Thriller, there was other stuff. You know, after Songs in the Key of Life, there was other great stuff. So, you know, we're not gonna let them off the hook like that. Lauren
okay, I was just being facetious, to be honest with you.
I know.
Thank you, Stacey, for the education. See, listen, one can get away with it. Why can't my girl over here? So don't let that be the excuse. I don't know why they didn't ask her, but I know if I was them, I would definitely ask her for another one.
Look, just like you're gonna stand up for Lil Kim and Foxy, I'm gonna stand up for Lauren, okay?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be right in there with you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned that we talked a little bit about the male rappers don't reach back to mentor the younger males coming up now. Is that the same? Does the same hold true with the successful female hip hop stars, or is it different?
I don't know. You know, I don't think so. Honestly, I feel that a lot of women, like Queen Latifah, you know, has definitely reached out to her successors and given, you know, advice and given them a platform to share with her. You know, I've seen it. I've definitely, Little Kim, I feel she does that so amazingly, reaching back to out to the younger girls, the younger generation, doing songs with them. And she's always been that girl, even with Ladies Night, the iconic record. She had 4 to 5 other girls on there, Angie Martinez, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, The Brat. I mean, yeah, and even her video always included a lot of women. So I will say that I feel like the women are doing better. Even the ones that's reigning supreme now. Look at Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. You know, look at Saweetie and Doja Cat. These girls are at the top of their game currently and collaborating right now. So I think the women are doing a better job at it, and that's probably why they're winning in the past couple of years, dominating the charts. But, you know, it's going to be cattiness and everything that, you know, happens. But I don't really like to push that narrative so much because I do see us really, really getting better at rooting each other on and really helping each other out and supporting each other and being a real sisterhood. I really feel like it's 96, 97 again, you know, right now with the women in hip hop. And listen, don't get it mistaken. I'm sure there's men out there that are really looking out for some of the older cats, I mean, for the younger cats. But I just think it can be a lot more done there, especially as it pertains to financial literacy and just letting them know, hey, don't make the same mistakes I did. And hopefully the young cats are listening too. You know, it goes both ways. You know, you want to reach out, but they got to be able to hold on to you too when you're reaching. So we just need a lot more of that on both ends. Yeah.
And again, you mentioned Lil Kim just recently, a couple of years ago, when she finally was honored. I think it was BET Lifetime Achievement Award, and she was so emotional. What was that like watching that moment? Because it seems like everybody in the arena out in Los Angeles was just floored by the moment. They were really moved by the moment. What was that like?
I mean, it was well overdue. I mean, we were floored because I think we honestly didn't realize that this never happened before. I mean, Kim is considered one of the mothers of hip hop. So for her not to be honored, it's like, what the hell was going on this whole time, you know? And it is BET, you know, it's a platform that was supposed to be created for us, by us. And so for her to be one of the top to ever do it, yeah, we were just shocked that that never happened. I think that was the feeling at the time, but ultimately she did it gracefully. She accepted it, and we love to see it. So we were very happy for her. We're still happy for Kim. She has a beautiful daughter. She seems to be very happy. And I think for a very long time, when it comes to women and just being successful in any field, you know, we're often told that you can't have it all. You can't have a successful career. You can't have the awards, and you can't have the baby. You can't have the husband. So, you know, when as a younger girl looking up to them, you know, I'm just happy to see people like her, even Foxy Brown, who has an amazing daughter as well. Eve, who has a whole family with a billionaire darling. So it's like, you know, it's good to see these girls live their full lives outside of their careers, because it gives women like me, career women like me, hope. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we earlier we talked about Wendy Williams. Well, Wendy Williams, we know, dubbed you the next generation's queen of media. I know you started Inside Hollywood. Tell us about Inside Hollywood.
Well, Inside Hollywood. Well, first and foremost, shout out to Wendy for that compliment. That was amazing. But yeah, Inside Hollywood is something I created in the wake of the pandemic. You know, we talked about how difficult, you know, it is for all of us. So for me, especially prior to the pandemic, I lost my mother to breast cancer, and I was going down this very dark road of depression. And what gave me solace and joy was my job, was going back and forth from LA to New York, attending press junkets, movie premieres, and red carpets, interviewing some of your favorite celebrities. It really, really brought me a lot of joy. And I would say it kept me alive, you know? So when the pandemic hit, I said, oh no, what am I going to do? I don't want to go down that dark road again. And, you know, I try to do the work, you know, you go to therapy. I'm still in therapy for it. But I knew that the world was affected by it, that it wasn't just me. So I said, you know, I want to get up out of this depression, and I want to be able to help others. And the only way I can do it, I only can do what speaks to me. And it was going back to the basics, going back to what I was doing. And thank God for platforms like Instagram and social media, where I said, you know, I'm just going to call up some of these people that I met on the carpet, that I met at these events, and say, hey, do you want to go on Instagram Live with me? I want to interview you. So you could tell your story from hardship to Hollywood in hopes to inspire people to keep fighting the good fight and look at this pandemic as just one obstacle to overcome and see it as this too shall pass. And they were happy to do it, and I was happy to do it with them. And it started off on IG Live. It was such an amazing journey. And it's really, again, my job and just the things that I love really kept me afloat, and it's keeping me alive. I feel it's keeping me happy. So, and I hope by these celebrities sharing their journey is helping other people to feel alive as well. So.
Yeah, you're watching Fire, Black Press USA's live stream with the one and only Jazzie Belle. Jazzie, how did it all get started for you? What inspired you to go into this business? I mean, you know, it's not just the interviewing and you do a lot. You model, you do everything. What inspired you?
Well, the modeling I used to do, I don't do anymore, but that's what gave me my start. But I always knew that I wanted more, worth more, and needed more. Modeling was just something to kind of just get my foot into the game. But what inspired me to be a journalist and to be a media personality was my mother. When I was young, I used to ask a lot of questions. I used to be very inquisitive, and I used to get on my siblings' nerves. And I remember one day, one of my brothers was like, why don't you just shut up and stop asking all these questions? And I remember my mom like slapping him on the top of the head, was like, don't you tell her to shut up, you know? And I remember her turning to me and saying, don't let nobody shut you up. You know, you keep asking questions, because that's the only way you're going to get answers. And it was because of her saying that is the reason why I picked up the mic and asked questions to this day. So she was definitely my inspiration to be a journalist and to be an interviewer, a researcher, whatever you want to call it. But she's the reason why I'm nosy and ask all the questions in the world today.
Well, I will say on a personal note, one of my inspirations just popped up and is watching my oldest daughter, Ricky. She's in Las Vegas. Always good to see Ricky.
Hey,
I got a chance to talk to my granddaughter earlier with
right.
Ricky. So Jazzie, so what's next? 2021 just underway. Black History Month, of course, the shortest month of the year. So, when you fall asleep tomorrow, it'll be March. So what's next?
Look at that. Well, first of all, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I need you guys to follow a page that I also created during the pandemic/revolution, what I like to call it. Because, in the beginning, it wasn't just the pandemic. We were seeing what was happening, unfortunately, with our brothers and sisters being treated unfairly by the police. So I did create a page called We the Culture 1619. And what that does is it highlights some of our most prominent Black figures in America. It's American history. I know y'all want to call it Black history, but it would be no America history without us. So, and what I found during the revolution/pandemic was that a lot of people were either miseducated or not educated at all when it came to, our culture as Black people. And I think because I grew up in Detroit, that I was privy to a lot of this information because I grew up in a household where my dad would sit us down and we would watch Farrakhan, seminars and stuff like that, and speeches, or, being in a predominantly Black city and being in a predominantly Black school. My teacher, I remember him throwing out the history books and saying, I'm about to teach y'all the real history. This is bull crap. I did my job, but I need y'all to know that y'all did not come in here and change. You guys are not born slaves, et cetera, et cetera. And so, so check out that page, We the Culture 1619. It's just there to educate you about your history and about your worth. But as far as 2021, my plan is to finish the book.
Here it is. 48 bars.
48 bars of power. To continue building Women in Hip Hop podcast, where I speak to, all the women that have an influence within the culture, whether you're a rapper or behind the scenes. I want to interview you so you can inspire women that they do run the world and they can do whatever they put their mind to. So Women in Hip Hop podcast. And of course, Inside Hollywood, continue to do that because I really feel that these people sharing their journeys and sharing their stories from hardship to Hollywood is inspiring a lot of us to keep fighting. We did not think this pandemic would be here right now, but we are here. And so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here talking to you, Stacey, and talking to your audience. So that's what I'm looking forward to in 2021. So please follow me at Jazzie Belle TV.
Absolutely. And Jazzie, just a couple of more things, but I know we got to let you go. In 20 or 30 years, when interviewers are looking back at the hip hop culture and legends from this period, and they cite Jazzie Belle, what do you see them saying about your contributions?
Oh, that she really fought for the women's voice to be heard and for her own voice to be heard. She really fought to have a platform to show the worth of the women's presence in hip hop. Wow. I really want that to be the narrative when it comes to me as it pertains to being a journalist in women in hip hop in particular. 20, 30 years from now, for sure. She created a platform for these women to be heard, and that's what I care about.
Wow. And where can folks follow you on Instagram, Twitter, social media? Where can they follow you?
At Jazzie Belle TV. That's JAZZIEBELLE TV. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I believe I'm on. Shout out to Clubhouse. I'm about to start messing with y'all on there a little more. Just bear with me. But at JazzieBelleTV.com. That's my website. WomenInHipHop.com. That's a podcast website. And TheInsideHollywood.com. There you go.
It's a lot of places we can find Jazzie Belle, and we're gonna be looking for that. I see. you got that Wendy Williams inspired background. Real quick, I mentioned my daughter Ricky. Ricky and I was when Wendy was a radio host at WBLS in New York. I was a guest on her show, and Ricky came with me to the show, and her green room looked something like that.
Did it? Yeah. Wow! Look at that.
2005, 6, or something like that. Yeah, so
I love
Jazzie Belle. Follow her, y'all, for all the scoop. I mean, she's getting all the scoop. She always has, and so we're gonna keep following you too, Jazzie Belle. At 4:00 today Eastern time, we got another special guest, Amber Pickens. She is an actress, dancer, singer, ballet, you name it, she does it. We'll have Amber Pickens at 4 today. Jazzie Belle, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Everybody, stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, and social distance. We'll see you soon.